All right, let's get started. Well, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Friday afternoon. We're really excited to have you here for our latest webinar. Um, I'm Josh. I'm the Head of Growth and Partnerships at Caitlyn AI. And today in this webinar, we're going to be diving into the world of analytics and how we're using rich insights to help uncover emerging topics, identify knowledge gaps, understand user behavior, and how we're turning thousands of conversations into practical insights. Some quick housekeeping to start. This webinar is going to be roughly 30 minutes long, and we'll try and keep the last sort of 5 minutes or so reserved for Q&A. Please put your questions in the chat as we go rather than saving them to the end, and that way we can kind of prepare them and work through as many as we can. We are recording the session, so the recording will go out to everyone registered afterwards, so no need to take notes as we go. And for those that are new on the call, I'll just give you a bit of a background on what Caitlyn is. So Caitlyn is an agentic platform built to scale the work of your best people. It's built for regulated, knowledge-heavy and process-heavy industries where data sovereignty matters and there is very little room for error or misinformation. It helps to build a capability within your organization and becomes an extension of your best people. It's wired into the systems you already use, it can run in your own environment, and every answer it produces is cited back to the source material. So to set the theme of today, we're going to be focusing on a specific piece of the overall platform, which is the analytics. And every time somebody does ask Caitlyn a question, they're essentially trying to tell you something about themselves in their own words, what they're trying to do or what they're looking for. And thousands of these questions add up to a picture of your audience that hasn't really been feasible to get before. So to do a bit of a couple of introductions on our speakers today, we have Amu, who is our head of client services. We have Gabe, our head of sales, who's based in he's beaming in from Sydney. We've got Tim, who's our product manager, and we're very privileged to have Sienna Doolan, who's a project manager at Meat Livestock Australia. And with those short introductions out of the way, I will hand over to you, Amu, to kick us off.
Thanks, Josh. Hi, everyone. So my name is Amu. I am the head of client services at Caitlyn. So in the AI era, data is the foundation. Everything we're going to show you today sits on top of that. We see it constantly. Organizations want lots of data. In the past, I've sat through product design sessions where we're building reports that extract everything that you could possibly think of, every metric, every breakdown. But here's the other thing we see just as often. All the data we extracted just sits there and no one's actually using it. It's almost as though having just enough data gives people the comfort to never look at it. It's just great knowing that it's there. So now when someone asks us to add X, Y, or Z to a report, we ask them to tell us, if you had this, what would you do with it? Because the real question is not what we can measure, but what can we do differently if we had the information? And that's the lens I want to put on analytics today. So let's start with what most of us are already used to. So website analytics, using tools like Google Analytics Dashboard. And they give you a lot. You can see who showed up, how many visitors, new versus returning, where in the world they are, what devices they're on, how they found you, and what they did. That's genuinely useful. It's the pulse of your website. But notice what they all have in common. Every number is a count of an action. It tells you what happened and how much, but not why. Was a spike in people leaving a page due to bad content, or did they find exactly what they were looking for? Those two can look identical. And here's where Caitlyn can give you more. Caitlyn can tell you why and allows you to take action on it. So let's take a simple stat. Say 2 users are going to ask 5 questions and spend 10 minutes. Watch what this number hides. The first user asks 5 related questions. That's 1 engaged thread, each answer leading to the next, a happy, curious customer or a prospect. The second user asks their questions in 5 different ways, getting more frustrated each time and never getting the answer that they want. It's the same stat, but a completely different story. And you'll never be able to tell them apart from just the number. But with Caitlyn, you have access to the raw conversation. And more importantly, each one can lead to an action. The first is a warm sales follow-up. The second tells you exactly what to fix, which brings me to the knowledge base itself. Caitlyn's analytics show you the questions your agent couldn't answer, the gaps in your knowledge base. At times, this can also expose marketing gaps too. Your users may not have a good understanding of why your agent's there or what's its purpose. They may not even know what your organization does because they're asking questions that are outside of your specialty. We can also show you parts of the knowledge base that never gets used because no response from your AI agent is being constructed using these sources. That might be dedicated work your audience simply have no interest in, or work they never knew that you had in your knowledge base for them to ask questions about. So what does this look like in practice? Foundation for Arable Research runs Ask FAR, powered by Caitlyn. Let's look at a sample piece of analytics. The peaks of usage is in the mornings and afternoons. These are field hours for this industry. Deeper dive into analytics may show you that most of these are single quick questions that are fired off from the field. So if FAR's primary user is a farmer mid-job wanting one fast answer, then you want to meet them where they already are, which is on their phone. That's exactly what FAR did. They initiated the build and use of Caitlyn's WhatsApp integration, giving farmers quick, concise answers to their in-field questions in an app that they were already comfortable using. And for organizations with wide mixed audiences and no direct line to them, you can use the raw data to build personas, even with no member logins. For Beef and Lamb New Zealand, that's the farmer, agronomist, and the researcher. The audiences that you will expect, but it also surfaces the ones that you didn't expect, like university students that are using their content to study. Caitlyn's analytics will help you get the real picture of who's out there and what they care about, and help you feed this straight into your strategies. And it may even show you where you fall short, which ties nicely into our next section, which is analytics and actions on user feedback, presented by Gabe.
Thank you, Amu. Hey everyone, I'm Gabe, Head of Sales here at Caitlyn AI, and I'm here to talk about the feedback and knowledge gaps. And I wanted to dive into the value of the feedback and share how we actually get it. And as you can see here, every single answer Caitlyn gives has this option. It's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. There's also a checkbox attached to it, so people can give some quick feedback, things like whether it was factually correct or they didn't like the style. And there's a text box too, so they can say that in their own words, what they liked or what went wrong. Just a simple way of helping your agent get better at answering. From here, we can dig deeper into that feedback. I want to give you a bit of context as to how much feedback we actually get. So we pulled about 12,000 interactions to look at this. And out of that, only a small subset of this came back with explicit feedback. And this trend holds true across all our customers. We only get about 3% back from all of these interactions. What we find is that we can get really valuable specific information from that feedback, things we can go and fix or update. But if we go one level below that and look at the actual conversations themselves, like Amu was saying, we get a full picture of what's actually happening. And just because 3% of the answers have feedback doesn't mean the other 97% are happy. So once we dig into those conversations, we find people rephrasing the questions, asking for something else, or just quietly walking away without continuing. That's why we look at both channels, the feedback and the conversations themselves in full context. So this gives us a few different things we can work on, and I want to share 3 examples with you. The first one, Caitlyn was recommending something that had been accurate when it was first set up, but the sources had since changed and the knowledge base hadn't caught up yet. It was an easy fix. We got the feedback from the specific case, refreshed the knowledge base, and now the answer is giving the correct information. The second one was a bit more technical. We got some negative feedback about incomplete information, and when we started digging into it, we found what people were actually looking for was inside diagrams, and Caitlyn wasn't picking up on that in full. So we strengthened our ingestion pipeline to read those diagrams differently and extract the information completely. So this is good for both sides. The customer gets a more accurate answer and we get a stronger ingestion pipeline to work with. The last one's a little bit different because it was a trend across lots of different unrelated organizations. And this actually wasn't in the form of negative feedback. It was actually positive feedback with a comment saying, I'd like this in a table in future. That got reinforced in lots of conversations too, mid-chat. people would always be saying, can you give this to me in a table format? And because it kept happening across so many unrelated clients, we didn't just fix it for one customer. We built it into the agent and made it a default configuration. And so none of this is about entirely new research needing funding. That's a different piece of the puzzle. This is about your agent actually catching up on things that it should already know. We also saw that a lot of the weaker answers weren't a capability problem, it was a content problem, and the right document just hadn't been uploaded yet. That's often the simplest fix that we can do for you. So here's the thing I want you to take away. None of this is about Caitlyn getting something wrong. Caitlyn is always answering accurately based on the information it knows, and that your users are probably telling you more than you think. It just never shows up as a rating. And that's exactly why feedback matters so much. It's not like a box ticking exercise. It's literally how Caitlyn keeps getting sharper. So it's worth making a bit of a habit to actually look through your conversations and analytics before someone points it out to you. Now, if you want to know more about what that looks like in your environment, let us know. That's exactly the kind of thing we can do with you. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, everyone. Over to you, Tim, so you can show us what this actually looks like.
Hey, thanks, Gabe. I'm Tim, product manager at Caitlyn AI. So some of you are already using accessing our analytics through the AWS QuickSight service. So that will continue to live on. If you enjoy QuickSight, you'll still be able to access that. But we're doing a lot of work to bring this into Caitlyn itself as a first-party admin panel. Next slide. Thank you. So this will be all part of the administration experience within Caitlyn. So you'll be able to see your analytics at the same place you're looking at your agents. So you'll be able to look at your data, tune your agents, all in the one place. It'll make things a lot easier. So I've got a prototype we've been working on just to show you the direction this is heading in. I'll just share it now. So this analytics pane will now appear in the existing administration area. You'll be able to select date ranges to filter down on the data and also the different agents you might be running within your Caitlyn. And then within that, you can filter down a particular alias of agents, which if you're not familiar with the difference between agents and aliases, these are sort of versions of your aliases. So you can sort of separate your sort of test data from your production data, or an alias that might serve a slightly different audience or a different mechanism. You've got the ability to boil down and see the different sessions, how many questions have been asked in that period, the number of questions per session, the target usage, how things are performing over time, the normal sort of stuff around, when people are using your Caitlyn, the peaks and the troughs, when are people most active, what the breakdown is between users that are new versus returning, but also start to drill down into what topics are being talked about and which topics are on the increase, which topics are starting to lose interest or traction over time, and which topics are new that you've not really seen before. You'll be able to look into how much your sort of knowledge base has been activated, how many documents are being sort of hit to answer to queries, which ones are changing, getting more attention, which ones are getting less. We're also doing some work to generate sort of user archetypes based on the questions that have been asked, so we can see or have a better understanding of the audience makeup. Are they, farmers or scientists or students? You can drill down further into the amount of activity happening per session. Are users just asking a quick question and then leaving? Are they having sort of deep, sort of long conversations with your knowledge base? We can also drill down further into how the knowledge base is being activated by looking at the amount of citations that are being generated, and which documents are using to generate those citations. So we can see this particular document has generated the most citations, so it's been used a lot to generate answers within Caitlyn. And then we can look into that and sort of see, what sort of questions activate knowledge from this particular piece of content. We've got the ability to look directly into your session transcripts, so you can dig down and see what people were asking about, but also filter directly to those ones that had flagged responses that Gabe was showing you before, so you can see if there's some negative feedback, we can see exactly, what was being asked, what did the user say. Then we have the insights report. So this is something that can get generated sort of periodically on a sort of sequence, which allows you to do a sort of deeper dive using agentic services into your data, so it can start to explain why you're seeing the things you did. So say if we pick up the sort of increase in negative sentiment that's coming through your Caitlyn system, we can dig into the questions and try and explain why you're seeing those patterns that you're seeing. And we can drill down more into the particular topics that have been, topic clusters that have been asked in that period. So we can dig into this particular topic cluster and see what within that, what subtopics have been asked about, and then drill down further into what particular questions and transcripts are generating that data you're seeing up the top. We've got a sort of heat map of the sentiment, how things are changing across those topic areas over time. And we can sort of build in the emotional texture, let's say, of the particular question. So you can see, are people looking for information, and, are they getting frustrated or confused? This is an important one, the knowledge gaps, which we talked about earlier. Which questions aren't being answered well by your knowledge base. This is something your users are interested in knowing, but it's not particularly well covered by your knowledge base. This allows you to pluck that out so you can address it. We've also got a bunch of sort of quality signals to hear, which ones were rated positively versus needed follow-up rates, how often your citations were clicked, and things like that. Right, I'll hand over to Sienna from Meat Livestock Australia.
Thanks, Tim, and great to speak to you all today. I'll just give you a bit of a brief overview on how MLA has been engaging with Caitlyn and the next steps for us as a service provider. So for those of you who aren't aware, MLA is a service provider to the red meat industry. So that's supporting cattle, sheep and goat producers across Australia. Our role is to invest in research, development, adoption and marketing activities, essentially hoping to improve productivity, profitability and sustainability, as well as global competitiveness across the red meat supply chain. So we are funded by producer levies. So we do have a responsibility to invest in what producers need research completed on. Next slide for me, please, Amu. So just a bit of a brief overview about myself. My role at MLA is to consult with our producer networks, essentially asking the question, what are your existing or emerging issues on farm that require further research, development or adoption activities? So MLA, we've existed as a company since 1998, and you can imagine in that time we've completed a fair bit of research and published a fair bit of information on a pretty wide variety of topics related to agriculture. Our reports library is something that has developed into its own beast, for lack of a better way of describing it, and that is comprised of final reports, online summaries, fact sheets, and different manuals that we've published. So when we are, instructing people on how to access this information, we have taken the path of least resistance previously. So what we have done is direct our producers and researchers to type something into Google, and if you pop MLA at the end, that will help you find the report you're looking for, rather than directing them through our website. So we've got about 20,000 documents, and the only way of finding them is either having a contact at MLA or putting things through Google. So this is where we've turned to Caitlyn to help us access that information. The next slide, please, Amu. So our research, as I mentioned, is funded through producer levies, project partner contributions and government funding. How do we decide what is getting funded? This is largely through my role, so asking the question of where do we need the dollars to go? Right now, we collect those research priorities every 2 years. So I wouldn't quite say it's a nimble process. It's definitely something that takes a lot of time. I spend about 6 months traveling, discussing research priorities with producers. And then those research priorities can be quite broad. We're talking to 19 different regional groups across Australia. And you can imagine with that, there's a pretty diverse range of bioregions and issues that come up. Something that's a problem in the Gulf in the Northern Territory is not going to be the same issue for producers based down in Tasmania. From here, we have multiple touch points throughout the process where our producers will have input onto where our research is. But we have an exciting new tool in our hands. So Caitlyn recently delivered a proof of concept to MLA with a subset of our reports library, so about 4,000 out of the 20,000. We had beta testing completed by both internal staff, staff from other RDC organisations, and producer networks as well. We had really great feedback on what Caitlyn was providing as answers to different prompts, and that was just with a subset of reports. We also were introduced to the data insights dashboard we've been talking about today towards the end of the project, and it's something that I'm really excited about because it's giving us that opportunity to dig deeper into the analytics collected when we have both producer and staff users engaging with the agent. So as Tim mentioned earlier, there's a fair few different types of data that go just beyond engagement time and question asked. It's really important for us to also see what our most popular documents are, what is getting the most citations, what are university students seeking when it comes to writing papers, and what is the information that isn't being accessed at all? Is it because this information itself is outdated, or is it because it's difficult to access and we haven't provided enough information into our knowledge base? Next slide, I move. So we're able to also spot emerging trends from this insights report, and being able to spot those before they become problems is really great for us. It's enabling us to have a proactive approach to addressing producer priorities. So we're not restricted to that 2-year cycle anymore. It's something that I can look at as frequently as I check that report. It's not something that I'm going to say is going to replace my job as such, but it's definitely something that's going to make us a whole lot more nimble when it comes to knowing what those emerging issues are. We are going to be able to tap into insights from people that may not be sitting on those regional committees. It's just someone who's chosen to use the MLA website. It's really exciting for us and a really great tool that will help us direct where we invest our research into the future. And that's all from me. Over to you, Josh.
Awesome. Thanks for this, Sienna. That was really interesting, super insightful. So thanks for sharing. And I think we're pretty much bang on time as well, which is good. So I guess just to wrap up, for those of you that might be considering Caitlyn, we would love to learn more about your ideas, and we're happy to create a demo for you to experience Caitlyn in action. If you would like to chat with us, in the email we'll send out after this webinar, you'll find a link that you can use to book a meeting with us. And we do have a few minutes for some questions. So I did see some come through, and I see, Tim, you've been busy answering. Well, you got one from Francois that you've answered there. So I might just start with that one and read it out for everyone that's on the webinar. So the question was, to use Caitlyn Analytics, do you also need to be using Caitlyn as the engine behind the agent that external parties such as customers are chatting with? So essentially, does Caitlyn have to be handling the end-to-end conversation?
Yeah, it's all this analytics and insights is based off the metrics and transcriptions that are recorded by Caitlyn. So everything's recorded off those logs. So it's not, the analytics platform hasn't been sort of customized to a different system.
Awesome. Another one I've got here is, are the analytics included with Caitlyn, or is it a paid add-on? So I can answer that one. So we include Caitlyn in all our standard offerings. It is a big part of the value proposition. And it's I think from day one, it's been one of the reasons that people have wanted to use a tool like Caitlyn, because they can see some of the insights and that kind of rich data coming out the other side of it. So yes, it is included by default with our plans. Another one here, Tim, I'm gonna keep you on your toes and direct this one to you as well. Can I export the raw data and analyze it in my own tools? I presume maybe like a Power BI or something like that.
Yeah. So we use Apache Iceberg tables to store the data. So if you do want to pull this into your own analysis platforms and combine with other analytics coming from other sources, that's quite easy for us to set up a connector for you, so you can access that data through the tools that you already use.
Awesome. There is another question that's just slipped in. When will the analytics dashboard be broadly available? So Amo or Tim, who are you?
Yeah. Yep. We're in the final throes of sorting that out. We're doing more sort of Q&A and getting that one out the door. So yep, Alison, you'll be one of the first to know, I assure you. Sorry to be
Nice.
slightly vague, but still a few sort of things when you dine out.
Oh, she said awesome. And just one last one here. I think you're very popular, Tim. This one's going to come to you as well, I think.
A blessing and a curse.
How does Caitlyn handle privacy and sensitive information?
Yeah, like potentially depending on the use case, there could be a lot of sensitive information in those transcription logs. So we've got a multi-layered approach, which you can adjust to sort of suit your specific use case. Like all these screens and data access is controlled by our ABAC system, so we can have particular user types and roles only have access to that data. We can also layer on like the PI data redaction, which is the personally identifiable information, can be redacted from all the transcription logs before it's processed. If you wanted to make sure that data people are looking at is really clean of all that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's other options depending on your needs as well.
Awesome. So that's all of the questions that I had. So I'll do a last call for any questions if there's anyone that has a burning one that they might want to add in quickly. Yeah, so I mean, thank you once again for joining everyone. We're going to be doing these webinars quite regularly on specific topics. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for the next one. I hope that you found this valuable and there were some good takeaways. And we really hope to see you in the next one. And thank you, Sienna, once again for joining us on this one. All right. So yeah. Oh, we've got some clapping hand emojis.